Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about your data and how AI is putting you at risk. We'll spend a little bit of time discussing how to balance innovation with proper security measures so you don't find yourself in a situation like other organizations where their data is leaving out the door and they don't even know it. Before we jump into that, let me tell you a little bit about me. My name is Aaron Winter, and I'm a security and compliance officer. My passion in my career is helping people and companies stay safe. With the ever expanding use of AI, we have been communicating with numerous fit clients to establish a strong foundation for responsible AI adoption, ensuring that data security and safeguarding operational interests are top of mind. A little bit about my background. I've also been assisting some of our largest clients optimize their cybersecurity and compliance initiatives and bringing audit scores from unsatisfactory to exceptional. It's one of my favorite things to do. I've been providing countless work sessions aimed at training personnel about the risks of breach and what they need to look for. Unfortunately, 90% of all breaches start with the error of an end user. Today's topic focuses on proper use of AI, stopping AI from becoming your next data breach. Our highlights today will be the power of AI and how to harness it, the way that data can be leaked by AI, the dangers of providing sensitive company data to AI solutions, and how they'll lay the proper groundwork for successful AI deployment. The session today is not about fear, but about preparedness, clarity, and actionable next steps that you can start using today. Throughout the session, we will have a question and answer place for you to drop into the chat. Please put your questions in the chat. At the end of the session, we will cover any of those questions that we possibly can. We had a couple of pre-submitted questions we're going to cover as well. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Jasmine, thanks so much for talking with me today, and let's get started.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Erin, for that quick intro. My name is Jasmine, and I'll help guide the conversation today. We'll be walking you through some real scenarios and examples as we go. So let's start with why this matters right now, why this suddenly feels urgent, right? So about a year or two ago, a risk wasn't even on most leadership agendas. What do you think, Erin, changed so fast that now it really has to be addressed?
This is a great question, and it's really kind of simple. Expanded usage is the main reason. So more and more sensitive data is being fed into AI platforms, and what I mean by that is, company secrets, financial information for companies, things like that. And with that information, generative AI is making decisions about what to do with sensitive data and leading people in a direction with the data that it gives. And so that is a really big, to me, that's scary. And I like to make sure that people understand AI is wonderful and it has a lot of great um, things that it does. But one thing that we have to be very careful about is that AI is not solid. It's not foolproof. It doesn't always give you what's the best practice answer. So we have to be very careful with that. Attackers are also using AI as well. They're using it to do better with their social engineering attacks. They're also using it to do and perform actual attacks as well. So AI is very intricately involved on the bad guy side as well. There's a lot of new regulation and regulatory expectations from insurance and contracts that we have to really look at as well. So, it's really, this has ramped up a lot over the last couple of years.
That's interesting. And what would you say has changed in how employees are using AI?
Yeah. So people were experimenting with tools a couple of years ago because they really didn't understand, much about AI, didn't really understand what it could do for their workflow. So that personal experiment time period has ended. And now people are using AI as a daily workflow tool, which is really great. It helps us to do things faster. It helps you accomplish more in a day. But we have to be very, very careful. Employees are bypassing IT to get productivity gains and using AI solutions without any notice to their company or IT, which is called shadow AI, by the way. That means you're using solutions that you're not running by anybody to make sure it's okay before you do. And that's a liability. If you don't have the right security measures in place, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, It's something that we have to be very, very careful about. Also, we're seeing a lot of AI assistants now being embedded into Microsoft and Google, Salesforce, different CRMs and ticketing platforms. These AI assistants are being embedded into those platforms. We're going to talk about those as well. But that is a big concern, especially if we don't have security in place appropriately. So we just have to be very, very careful. Data is being pasted, uploaded, and streamed into AI tools without governance, and that is the biggest concern.
Absolutely. And now we already know that AI is already inside people's organizations, right? So one thing that surprises a lot of leaders is how widespread AI use already is. Uh, how would you say are employees really using AI at work today, even in companies that haven't formally approved it?
Yeah, so this is a very important topic. So, what your question is, are employees really using the AI tools? And yes, they really are. And the most dangerous environments are the ones without an approved AI tool list. Those ones that are going out and just getting Chat GPT or one of those that Gemini or something like that that doesn't have any kind of security in place. Those are very dangerous. And um, most usage actually is through productivity tasks. People are using them to help them with emails, analysis of content, research, and then coding too. Employees are often assumed that it's harmless that they're using AI because everybody's doing it, when that's really a false assumption that we shouldn't take for granted.
And how much of that use is visible to leadership?
Yeah, so visibility when it comes to AI usage is very, very low without monitoring and approved tool sets. And what I mean by that is if we don't monitor, if we don't have any type of governance in place, we don't have any type of tools to monitor the use of AI or stop people from using certain types of AI, there's no visibility. And leadership often thinks that they're behind in AI adoption, when it's actually usually the opposite, meaning that people are using it, they just don't know about it. And so we've got to get our hands around, our arms around that. And so most organizations, unfortunately, discover usage only after an audit or a claim or an incident.
Absolutely. So now this is where the risk really starts to take shape, right? You talk about AI risk coming in through three different doors. Can you guys walk us through what those doors actually look like in real environments?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the front door first. The front door is those tools that have been approved by the enterprise that people are using. If they embed Copilot into their daily work and it's approved and set up appropriately, that's fine. Those AI tools that companies know about and approve are the front door. The back door, this is those AI assistants like the Microsofts and Microsoft 365, the CRMs, the marketing tools, etc. Those embedded AI tools can be scooping data if you don't know about it. And we're finding that the tools are being introduced and sometimes you don't even know they're there, and they can be scooping data out of your network, out of your company. And so it's very important to know that those AI assistants exist. The side door is the one where employees are adopting their own AI platforms without any oversight. So those are the three different doors.
And which door tends to surprise organizations the most?
Yeah, so by far the side door, the one where an employee is kind of going out on their own, kind of going rogue and adopting an AI tool, those are the ones that are the most surprising and the ones that can cause the most damage. But I do want to bring up the back door as well. Surprising for security and legal because vendors are quietly adding those AI features. And all of a sudden they're there and they don't always have the settings on those plugins on those, plugins. They don't have them set to the best practice settings. So it's very important that we're abreast of that door as well.
Absolutely. Now we know that AI risk is no longer just a security issue. And this is where a lot of companies oversimplify the problem. Why isn't AI risk just a cybersecurity problem?
So AI creates a lot of legal exposure. So we've got to think about broadening our minds when it comes to this. Think about your contracts in place. Think about your intellectual property. Think about um, threatening your confidentiality. So let's just talk about contracts, for example. You could have contracts in place that say that your vendor is giving you a contract, you signed it, and it says in there, no use of AI tools. So you may be in breach of contract. Um, and so that's a legal issue. That is definitely way bigger than IT, way bigger than cybersecurity. We're talking about breach of contract. We're talking about intellectual property being put into AI tools where it's now threatening the credibility of the company if it gets leaked out to other places. A big deal. So then it also AI creates a compliance obligation issue. Often AI is not working in the confines of compliance. Say you have to be HIPAA compliant, for example, and you are feeding information into the tool and it's giving you information back, but it's not actually thinking, hey, what are the HIPAA requirements for this request, and making sure that it is giving you answers that are based inside that standard qualification. So always making sure that you're aligned with your regulatory requirements is very, very important. Also, insurance underwriting. Insurance is looking for any ways to put that risk and obligation back onto their clients. So, constantly insurance underwriting and claims are changing because of the high risk of data leak through AI solutions. So we just have to make sure that leadership and operations are, really aware of all these different things, and have to make sure that we're taking the right steps.
Absolutely. And who else needs to be thinking about this internally?
Yeah. So any legal department or compliance regulation, somebody that deals with those things, risk and insurance, dealing with those items, HR and training. Definitely need to know, because we've got to train our people on how to use AI appropriately. That's really, really important. And then obviously finance and leadership. Finance, if you're feeding financial information into AI solutions, we got to make sure that the guardrails are set up for that. And leadership needs to know what's being used and fed into those solutions as well.
Absolutely. And now this is where the impact starts showing up in places leaders don't expect, right? How do you say, how can AI usage conflict with contractual or regulatory requirements?
So many times AI violates confidentiality and privacy and intellectual property ownership clauses. A lot of times it also breaks data processing or business associate agreements for regulated industries. And the way that is because um, you know, if you're getting a lot of the information through AI and you're producing it for, say, your business associate clause, a lot of times, you're creating information that you don't really, that you're just taking as it's the right thing from AI. So it creates a lot of uncertainty as far as where the information came from and is it viable. And so that's a really, really big concern. So we've got to be making sure that our business associate agreements and our data processing agreements, um, all of them are aligned with our AI usage.
Absolutely. And you mentioned insurance before. Insurers. Are insurers and auditors really asking about AI now?
Yeah, they're really cracking down a whole lot on AI usage because they're seeing a lot of claims related to data leaving. And so insurers are now asking about data handling, how you're controlling your data, how you're logging, and what policies are in place for AI usage. That is a big focus of insurers right now. Underwriters are also looking at and wanting to know what an unmanaged AI is going on in your environment, because it's a significant risk factor as well. In audits, there's also an increased requirement for AI disclosure for SOC 2, HIPAA, and CMMC, and all of the different audits that you come across. Auditors are asking big questions about AI usage because it is often not regulatory compliant.
Absolutely. So I heard you mention that policy isn't enough. Why do you think so many companies get stuck at we wrote a policy, just so we wrote a policy when it comes to AI?
So this all comes down to ownership. So policies that they create, if it's just a checkbox, a policy can be easily written and published, but owning that policy, making sure that everyone understands it is paramount. And it's very important that we're not just creating policies and then just thinking people are going to accept them. We've got to have a way to have people accept those policies. We have to make sure that leadership assumes the training, and that they will follow up automatically, that there's going to be some type of follow up so that AI policies can be accepted and understood by everybody in the environment. Also, AI moves super quickly and oftentimes faster than policy updates can exist. So we have to stay abreast of kind of what new things are coming out in AI and adapting those policies as those things happen.
Yeah, makes sense. And what's missing for real risk reduction?
Visibility is the biggest part. So who's using what and how they're using it, having an approved list of what AI is allowed, the data handling rules, the technical controls, all very, very important. Training and evidence of AI usage and what we're doing is very, very important. Governance is based on risk, not hyper fear.
That's so true. So moving over to the AI risk maturity model. This is a helpful way to think about progress without overwhelming teams. Can you walk us through this maturity model? What do the different stages actually represent?
Yeah, absolutely. So level one there is no visibility. That means there's nothing in place. No, we don't know who's using what. We have no kind of policy. It's just kind of, we just don't think people are using AI, which unfortunately is very often a mistake. Level two is having a written policy, but no adoption or governance, meaning no ownership of that policy, not making sure it's followed through, that everyone understands. Level three is the approved tools, training, and enforcement. So we've got got some ownership there. We've got the approved tool list. We're doing some training. Um, and then we get to level four, which is cross-functional governance and evidence and reporting. So that is, we've got not only the training and the approved tools and we're enforcing, but we're also making sure that if we have a regulatory compliance commitment with that, we're cross-referencing that and making sure that what AI gives us is aligning with that governance requirement. And then level five, this is great. Level five is the place where we've done all all the things in level four, but now we're actually able to innovate and be able to really use AI to its best ability because we know that we have all the risks under control and the compliance is in alignment as well. So that is the most mature place to be.
Okay, so I know talk to organizations on a daily basis, right? From different industries, company sizes. Where do you see most organizations today? On which level would you say?
Unfortunately, it's kind of sad. Most companies are level two. I'm still seeing a lot of level one. Small to medium businesses, small to medium enterprise, level two, level one are mainly what I see. When it comes to regulatory environments, I'm also seeing a similar situation, but they're a lot of times, at least at level three. So one thing that I want to say is that we definitely, even if you're at level one, improving by one level and just starting to work your way towards that where we need to be is super important and a first step for a lot of organizations.
Absolutely. So what is the goal, right? Moving for any company would be to move one level forward always. And this is where the approach really matters, right? Why is moving just one level forward the right mindset instead of just trying to solve AI all at once?
Yeah, AI is, like I said, moving so fast. And for like multi-year big bang projects, there's constantly new AI coming out. Incrementally maturing risks, reduces your risk while enabling adoption. So at least starting down that path is super important. Making sure that data is not leaving your environment. You can at least get to level 2, level 3, and start at least having your arms around that. It's very, very important. Um, Organizations have to gain start with, getting our hands around what it's being used for, what the best use scenario is, and just incrementally improving where you're at with the AI and what you have in place will just greatly at least get you off the ground, and very important to start.
Absolutely. So once a company recognizes this gap, the big question is what now, right? So what does an AI diagnostic actually give uh, visibility into?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we have an AI diagnostic tool that will give you visibility to not only what's approved, but also that shadow AI that I was talking about earlier. It's going to give us a risk profile tied to legal, compliance, and security, also insurance. It's going to give you a risk right on the top of that and tell you where you're at. It's going to give you recommendations tailored to maturity level and your industry and what next steps should be. So what we'll do is we can actually send you a link that you just run on up to 5 computers in your environment. You start that link. I don't need any passwords or anything like that. It starts the analysis. You reduce it to your tray. You keep working. It exits by itself, but it's going to give us a report. It's going to show us all kinds of information about your AI usage, but a lot of other information that could help your security hardening of your environment as well. And that's something I definitely want to offer to this group of folks here on the call today.
That's amazing. I actually just shared the link so that you can all book some time with us to review your A status, what the next good actionable steps would be. We'd love to continue that conversation with you. So please check out that link that I shared in our chat. And while you guys take a look at that link, Aaron, what decisions can leadership make once they have clarity?
Yeah, so they're going to be able to see the tools that are being used and approve or restrict the tools based on business value. They're going to be able to adjust contracts, insurance, and vendor obligations very easily, be able to see kind of where they're out of alignment. They're going to be able to operationalize policies and training, and they're going to be able to set realistic AI adoption goals. And that's really, really, really important.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I just shared that link in our chat. It's no cost, really valuable conversation, really valuable feedback that will get your organization on that next level. So, super excited to continue the conversation with all of you after this session today.
Yeah, if I could just offer a final thought, AI innovation and protection can coexist. The goal isn't to slow it down because you really can't slow AI down. It's to enable it safely. The organizations that grow and govern their AI early gain an advantage. Risk is managed, not eliminated. It's because it's never going to be totally eliminated, but that's enough. Safe AI can become a strategic differentiator. Please do sign up for that no cost analysis with that link that Jasmine shared with the link. And definitely, it's very important. AI innovation and protection can coexist, and it's something we definitely want to help you get your hands around.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, Erin, for walking us through all of that super valuable content and insights. We're now moving over to the last section of today's session, our Q&A. I already see a few questions from you in our chat, and we'll get started with those in a minute. But I wanted to kick off the Q&A session with a few questions that some of you sent over via email ahead of time. Is that okay if we start with those, Erin? What do you think?
Sure, of course, that's fine.
All right, sounds good. So, if AI use led to a data leak, HR issue, or legal complaint, who should actually own that risk? Is this an IT problem or should other teams be involved too?
Yeah, it's a really great question. AI is definitely not just an IT issue. I mean, legal cares about it because it is talking about, they're dealing with data exposure, contracts and regulatory obligations. HR cares because employees of employee behavior, acceptable use and disciplinary consistency is very, very important. Compliance, obviously, due to regulatory structure, cares because it makes sure the AI doesn't just give advice against what's, the regulations are and people following that. So that's really, really important. And then executive leadership ultimately owns the business and the reputational risk as well. And so all of those different people really need to be paying very close attention to this. And it is a problem for every one of those areas.
100%. 100%. Now, another question that we received was, what does acceptable use of AI training actually look like for employees, and how do you enforce it without slowing people down?
Yeah, that's a really great question and something that we get off. And it's really about having an effective training method. So effective AI training isn't just telling people not to use AI because they're going to use it anyway. It's about showing them how to use it safely. Good training explains what types of data should never be entered in AI tools, which AI platforms are approved, and how that AI fits into your job responsibilities. Training should not be short. It should be really short, should be role appropriate. It also should be, reinforced regularly, not just a one-time checkbox, because that's just people forget. People kind of go rogue a little bit, and we have to always stay in front of that. And so having even a quarterly type training for how to use AI, and us having, new things that have come out over the last quarter to keep people abreast of what they should be looking for, how they should use their AI platforms is important. Enforcement comes from a combination of clear policy awareness and visibility. When employees understand why, the legal risk, data protection, and company accountability, they are more apt to actually follow. And so adoption improves without slowing productivity when they look at it from that angle. Training works best when it's backed by real visibility into AI usage so that AI policies align with how people actually work. And that's super important.
Absolutely. Now, moving over to some fresh new questions in our chat. We have a great question from Sharon. Would cybersecurity insurance cover AI breaches?
So yeah, this is a great question and something that we deal with very often. There are a lot of cyber insurances that are adapting their policies to have exceptions when it comes to AI usage. So we have to look at what AI is being used, how it's being used, and make sure we have the safety in place and that we're looking at those renewals for your cyber insurance to make sure that those exceptions are not there. And if there is an exception there about AI usage, we can often come back to the underwriters and say, look, we have these safety cautions in place. Here's evidence of that. And they will take those exceptions out sometimes, depending on, what the exception looks like. But that is a really great question, Sharon. Thank you so much for asking it.
100%. And we have another great question that came in from Celeste. Is there any place to obtain model policies on the use of AI?
Model policies. So just like templates for policies. That is something I'm doing. I'm even doing some one-off work for our clients for AI policies. I have some templates. I know that you can buy a template online and possibly do that. The biggest thing about having an AI policy is that part of the presentation where we were talking about ownership. Um, you can create a policy, you can adapt it to your organization, but you have to have follow through. You have to have everybody accepting it or it doesn't work. And so the biggest way to do that is through working with somebody who can then help you get acceptance and evidence of acceptance from your end users. That looks like date and time stamps for everybody that they've accepted those policies or that they understand. Because when it comes down to it, that's the evidence you need to show that you're adopting it appropriately. So my best recommendation is to work with somebody that has a GRC tool, a compliance tool that can make those policies for you and track acceptance.
Absolutely. And even if you have any follow-up questions based on what we discussed or the answers that we just the questions that we just reviewed, feel free to also book some time with us. During that diagnostic, we're happy to, as I mentioned, connect, answer any follow-up questions, any other concerns that you guys are dealing with in your organizations today. We'll be happy to continue the conversation and answer any follow-up questions. But I wanted to thank you all for all the amazing questions. It's really good.
Thank you, everybody, very much. It's great to see a lot of those folks that I haven't talked to in a while. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. I actually shared the link in our group chat one last time. If anyone hasn't seen it, feel free to book some time with us. We'll go over this diagnostic, answer any follow-up questions, and we'll hope to see you very soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great day.